I stood in Marcus Holt's glass office, watching his mouth move but barely processing the words. Behind him, the city stretched out like a gray blanket under October clouds. My coffee had gone cold in my hand during the walk up here. "We're moving you to the satellite office," Marcus said, leaning back in his leather chair. "Effective immediately." My stomach dropped. The satellite office sat 2 hours north, in a dying industrial town nobody visited unless forced. I'd worked at Apex Consulting for 7 years, building client relationships, closing deals that kept this place running. And now this. Why? I managed to ask. Marcus smiled, not warmly. "We need fresh energy in the main office. You understand." I understood perfectly. Last month, I disagreed with him during a board meeting about his reckless spending on unnecessary renovations. He'd turned red, stammered through his explanation, and the board had sided with me. This was payback. "When do I start?" I asked quietly. "Monday. Pack your desk today." I walked out, hands trembling slightly, wondering if I should just quit. But bills didn't pay themselves, and jobs weren't easy to find at 43. My coworker B found me boxing up my desk that afternoon. She'd been my work friend since I started, always honest, always kind. Her face fell when she saw the cardboard boxes. "No, they're not shipping you north," she whispered. I nodded, taping another box shut. My fingers fumbled with the tape dispenser. Around us, other employees pretended not to watch while clearly watching. Office gossip spread faster than email. "Marcus is punishing you for making him look bad," B said quietly. "Everyone knows it." I shrugged, though my chest felt tight. "Nothing I can do." She leaned closer. "Listen, I heard something. That Thornfield merger Marcus keeps bragging about. There's paperwork involved that needs specific authorization signatures. Legal stuff from way back." I barely paid attention, too focused on whether my plant would survive the move. "I'm just saying," B continued, "you might be more important than Marcus realizes." I appreciated her trying to cheer me up, but right then I felt completely powerless. Just another employee Marcus could shuffle around like furniture. The satellite office was worse than I'd imagined. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like dying insects. The carpet smelled faintly of mildew. Only 3 other people worked here. 2 accountants who kept to themselves and a receptionist named Dolores who seemed thrilled to have someone new to talk to. My office was actually a converted storage room with one narrow window facing a brick wall. No city view. No glass walls. Just beige paint and a metal desk that wobbled when I typed. I unpacked slowly, trying to make the space less depressing. My framed certification from the Industry Association went on the wall. My plant, barely alive after the move, sat on the windowsill. Dolores appeared in my doorway with coffee. "It gets better," she said kindly. "Or you get used to it. Same thing, really." I thanked her, though I doubted either was true. That first week crawled by. My old clients still called my cell, confused about my sudden transfer. I handled their questions from my dim little room, pretending everything was fine. At night, I drove home exhausted from the commute, microwaved dinner, and collapsed into bed. This was my life now. 3 weeks into my exile, I received a strange email. It came from Apex's legal department, a woman named Phyllis I'd met once at a company party. The subject line read, "Urgent, authorization documentation." I opened it during my lunch break, eating a sandwich that tasted like cardboard. "Hi Jordan," it began. "I'm reviewing old files for the Thornfield merger and noticed something important. You were listed as the authorized signatory on the original Caldwell account contracts from 2019. Those contracts are foundational to the merger terms. We'll need your signature on the transition documents. Please confirm receipt of this email." I stared at my screen, sandwich forgotten. The Caldwell account. I'd almost forgotten about it. My first major win at Apex. I'd personally negotiated those contracts, brought in a client worth millions annually. Marcus had barely been assistant director back then. I typed back. "Received. Let me know what you need." Phyllis responded within minutes. We'll send documents soon. This is time-sensitive for the Thornfield deal. Thank you. I leaned back in my wobbly chair, something stirring in my chest. Maybe B had been right. That evening, I dug through my home files, searching for my copies of the Caldwell contracts. Kept everything, always did. My apartment was small, but I'd organized one closet as a filing system for important work documents. There they were, in a labeled folder. Caldwell Industries, Original Agreements, 2019. I spread the papers across my kitchen table, reading carefully. My signature appeared on every page as Authorized Company Representative. The contracts stipulated that any transfer, modification, or renegotiation of terms required my written approval or formal authorization transfer to another representative. That clause had seemed like standard legal language back then. Now it meant something else entirely. I pulled out my laptop and searched for news about the Thornfield merger. Articles popped up immediately. Apex was acquiring Thornfield Industries for $80 million. Marcus had been quoted extensively, calling it his crowning achievement, and the deal that would define Apex's future. The merger depended on absorbing Thornfield's existing client base, including their contracts with Caldwell Industries. My phone rang. BA's name flashed on the screen. Did you get an email from legal? She asked immediately. Yeah. About the Caldwell contracts. Jordan, Marcus is panicking. B explained in a rush. She'd overheard Marcus on a conference call with Apex's lawyers and the Thornfield team. The merger had hit a snag. The Caldwell contracts required specific authorization that only I could provide. Without my signature, that portion of the deal would collapse, and Caldwell represented nearly 30% of the merged company's projected value. He's been screaming at Phyllis all afternoon, B whispered, asking why nobody caught this sooner. Apparently, he assumed those old contracts were transferable automatically. I felt a smile tug at my lips for the first time in weeks. They're not. Jordan, you have leverage. Real leverage. After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at those old contracts. Marcus had shipped me off to rot in that depressing satellite office because I'd embarrassed him once. He'd never apologized, never reconsidered. He just used his power to punish me. Now suddenly he needed me. I made myself tea and thought carefully about what to do next. Revenge felt tempting, but I wasn't vindictive. I just wanted fair treatment, respect, maybe my old position back. The question was, how hard should I push? Monday morning, I arrived at the satellite office to find an email from Marcus waiting in my inbox. The timestamp showed he'd sent it at 6 a.m. Jordan, need you to sign some documents for the Thornfield merger. Standard procedure. Phyllis will send them over. Please return ASAP. Thanks, Marcus. The tone was casual, breezy, as if he was asking me to sign a birthday card. No acknowledgement of what these documents actually meant. No recognition that he needed me specifically. I deleted the email without responding. An hour later, Phyllis sent the documents, a thick PDF of legal forms, with yellow highlighted sections where my signature was required. I downloaded them but didn't open them. Not yet. By noon, Marcus had sent another email. Jordan, just checking if you received those docs from legal. Time sensitive. Thanks. I let that one sit too. Dolores knocked on my door around 2. Someone from the main office called for you. Sounded urgent. She handed me a message slip with a phone number. I recognized it, Marcus's direct line. I crumpled the paper and tossed it in the trash. Dolores raised her eyebrows but said nothing. Wednesday brought a phone call I couldn't ignore. Phyllis from legal called my cell directly. Her voice strained with stress. Jordan, I'm sorry to bother you, but the Thornfield team is asking about those signatures. The merger closing is scheduled for the end of next month. We need your approval on the Caldwell contract transitions to proceed. Kept my voice neutral. I received the documents. I'm reviewing them. How long will that take? Phyllis asked carefully. I'm not sure. They're quite complex. I want to make sure I understand everything before signing. Jordan, is there a problem? Marcus said this was straightforward. Marcus doesn't understand these contracts like I do, I said quietly. I'll be thorough. After I hung up, I finally opened the PDF. Most of it was standard, authorizing the transfer of the Caldwell contracts to the merged entity, confirming terms, acknowledging responsibilities. But buried in the middle were clauses that absolved Apex of certain guarantees I'd originally negotiated for Caldwell. They were trying to weaken protections I'd fought hard to include 6 years ago. I highlighted those sections and saved the file. If Marcus wanted my signature, we'd be doing this properly. Thursday afternoon, Marcus called my cell. I let it go to voicemail. He called again immediately. I declined it. The third time I answered. Jordan. Finally. Listen, we need those documents back today. The Thornfield lawyers are breathing down our necks. I leaned back in my wobbly chair. I have some questions about the terms. Questions. It's just a signature transfer. Standard stuff. Actually, it's not. Sections 8 through 12 modify the original Caldwell protections. I'm not comfortable signing off on that. Silence. Then. What are you talking about? I explained slowly, professionally. The original contracts guaranteed Caldwell certain service levels and pricing protections. The merger documents weakened those guarantees, potentially exposing Caldwell to higher costs and reduced service quality. That's the lawyer's problem, not yours, Marcus said, irritation creeping into his voice. Just sign. I'm the authorized representative. It's absolutely my problem. I won't sign documents that harm Caldwell's interests. Jordan, don't make this difficult. I'm not making anything difficult. I'm doing my job properly. He hung up without saying goodbye. I smiled at the brick wall outside my window. Friday morning, I received an email from Apex's CEO, Vincent Shaw. I'd met him a handful of times over the years. Always professional, always distant. His message was brief. Jordan, understand there are concerns about the merger documents. Let's discuss. Can you come to the main office Monday at 10? Vincent. So Marcus had escalated. I replied. I'll be there. That weekend I prepared carefully. I printed copies of the original Caldwell contracts, highlighted the relevant protections, and prepared a simple presentation showing exactly how the merger documents weakened those terms. I wasn't trying to sabotage the deal. I genuinely wanted Caldwell protected. But I also wouldn't pretend this was simple or unimportant just to make Marcus's life easier. Sunday night I barely slept. Nervous energy kept me awake, running through possible scenarios. Would Vincent listen? Would Marcus find some way to override me? Monday morning I put on my best suit. Navy blue, perfectly pressed. I left early, giving myself time for the 2-hour drive. The autumn landscape blurred past my windows as I rehearsed what I'd say. The main office building looked different after a month away. Bigger, shinier, more intimidating. Vincent's office occupied the top floor, with windows on 3 sides and furniture that probably cost more than my car. He greeted me with a firm handshake and gestured to a conference table where Marcus already sat, looking tense. Jordan, thanks for coming in, Vincent said. Marcus explained there's a holdup with the Thornfield merger paperwork. Marcus jumped in. Jordan's refusing to sign standard transfer documents. It's delaying everything. I opened my folder calmly. That's not accurate. I'm refusing to sign documents that weaken protections I negotiated for a major client. Vincent's eyebrows rose. Explain. I walked them through it, showing the original contracts, then the merger documents side by side. I pointed out each modification, explaining why each mattered. Caldwell had trusted us to maintain certain standards. These new terms broke that trust. Vincent listened carefully, taking notes. Marcus shifted in his seat, jaw tight. These protections cost us flexibility, Marcus argued. The merger needs clean terms. The merger needs ethical terms, I countered. Caldwell is a long-standing client. We can't just erase promises we made them. Vincent set down his pen. Jordan's right. We need to revise these sections before we can proceed. Marcus's face flushed. That'll delay closing by weeks. Then it delays, Vincent said firmly. We're not cutting corners. The meeting continued for another hour. Vincent asked detailed questions about the Caldwell relationship, the history of the contracts, the potential impact of the proposed changes. I answered everything precisely, professionally. Marcus sat silently. His earlier confidence evaporated. Finally, Vincent turned to him. Marcus, why wasn't Jordan consulted before these documents were drafted? Marcus fumbled for words. I didn't think. It seemed like standard legal work. Jordan's the authorized representative. That's not standard, it's essential. Vincent looked at me. I apologize, this wasn't handled correctly from the start. Something loosened in my chest. An apology. From the CEO. I appreciate that, I said quietly. Vincent continued. We'll need you working closely with legal to revise these documents. How soon can you start? Marcus interrupted. Jordan's assigned to the satellite office currently. That's 2 hours away. Vincent frowned. Why? The room went silent. Marcus's face reddened. We needed coverage there. We have 3 people at that location, Vincent said slowly. And you moved one of our top account managers there? He looked at me. Jordan, would you prefer to work from the main office again? My heart raced. Yes, absolutely. Consider it done. Effective immediately. I cleaned out my satellite office that same afternoon. Dolores hugged me goodbye, genuinely happy for my escape. I knew you wouldn't be stuck here long, she said. You're too good. The drive back felt different. Lighter, faster, like I was driving toward something instead of away from it. Bea nearly screamed when she saw me walking through the main office with my boxes. You're back. I heard Vincent personally approved it. Word spread quickly. Several co-workers stopped by my old desk, which had sat empty since I'd left, to welcome me back. A few admitted they'd thought Marcus's reassignment was unfair. No one had said so at the time, but they'd thought it. Marcus stayed in his office, door closed, all afternoon. I set up my workspace slowly, deliberately. My plant went on the windowsill, real sunlight this time. My certification went back on the wall. Everything felt right again. That evening Vincent stopped by. Jordan, I want to be clear about something. The way your reassignment was handled was inappropriate. I should have been informed before any major personnel moves happened. Thank you, I said. I'm assigning you to lead the Caldwell contract revision. Work directly with Phyllis. Take whatever time you need to get it right. I nodded, professional but satisfied. Over the next 2 weeks, I worked closely with Phyllis and her legal team. We rebuilt the merger document section by section, preserving Caldwell's protections while addressing Thornfield's needs. It required creativity and compromise, but we found solutions. Phyllis was brilliant, sharp, detail-oriented, genuinely invested in doing things correctly. I should have caught these issues earlier, she admitted during one late-night session. Marcus kept pushing us to rush. He's good at pushing, I said. We submitted the revised documents to Vincent and the Thornfield team. After several rounds of review, everyone approved them. The merger was back on track, but now with terms everyone could feel good about. Caldwell's CEO called me personally to thank me for protecting their interests. Marcus told us everything was standard, he said. But you made sure we were treated fairly. That means something. That phone call meant more to me than any bonus. Meanwhile, Marcus and I maintained a cold politeness. He didn't apologize for the reassignment. I didn't gloat about being brought back. We simply worked around each other, professional but distant. Then, 3 weeks before the merger closing, everything shifted again. Vincent called me into his office on a Tuesday morning. His expression was serious, unreadable. My stomach tightened. Had something gone wrong? Jordan, sit down. I need to discuss something confidential. I sat, hands folded in my lap. The board met yesterday, Vincent began. We've been evaluating our leadership structure, especially in light of the Thornfield merger. We'll be managing a much larger operation soon, with more complexity. I nodded, unsure where this was going. Marcus has done solid work in many areas, Vincent continued carefully. But this situation with the Caldwell contracts revealed some significant gaps in judgment. The board feels we need stronger oversight. My pulse quickened. We're creating a new position, Vice President of Client Relations. This person would oversee all major accounts, ensuring continuity and protection of client interests. They'd work directly with me and report to the board quarterly. He paused, watching my reaction. Jordan, we'd like to offer you this position. The room seemed to tilt slightly. Vice President. Board-level role. Everything I'd worked toward for years, suddenly within reach. Marcus would still handle operational management, Vincent clarified. But client relationships would fall under your authority. What does Marcus think about this? I asked quietly. Vincent's expression didn't change. Marcus reports to me. This is my decision. I took the weekend to consider the offer. It meant more money, more responsibility, more visibility. It also meant working closely with Marcus, who would undoubtedly resent my promotion. Saturday afternoon I met Bea for coffee. I'd told her about the offer, sworn her to secrecy. She nearly knocked over her latte with excitement. Jordan, you have to take it. You've earned this 10 times over. It'll be awkward with Marcus, I said. Marcus created the awkwardness. Not your problem. She leaned forward. Think about it. He tried to bury you in that terrible satellite office out of pure spite. Now you're being promoted over him. That's not revenge. That's justice. She was right. This wasn't about Marcus. It was about me finally getting recognition for years of solid work, for protecting clients, for doing things right even when it was harder. Sunday evening I emailed Vincent. I accept the position. Thank you for this opportunity. His response came within an hour. Excellent. We'll announce it Monday morning. Welcome to the executive team. I stared at that email for a long time, letting it sink in. VP of Client Relations. My name would be on the website, on business cards, in press releases about the merger. Everything had changed. Monday's announcement hit the office like a thunderclap. Vincent sent a company-wide email at 9 a.m., introducing me as the new VP of Client Relations and explaining how the role would function within the expanded post-merger structure. My phone exploded with congratulatory texts. Co-workers stopped by my desk all morning, some genuinely happy for me, others clearly curious about the office politics behind the promotion. Bea brought champagne at lunch, in coffee mugs to keep it subtle. To you, she toasted. The VP who started in a storage room. I laughed, though my stomach still felt nervous. I hadn't seen Marcus yet. His office door had been closed since I arrived. Around 2 p.m. he finally emerged. He walked past my desk without looking at me, headed toward the elevators. His face was blank, unreadable. Phyllis caught up with me later. Marcus requested a meeting with Vincent right after the announcement, she whispered. It didn't go well. Vincent apparently told him this was non-negotiable. I felt a pang of something. Not quite sympathy, but awareness of how humiliating this must be for Marcus. He'd tried to sideline me, and instead I'd been elevated above him. Still, I hadn't created this situation. He had. The Thornfield merger closed 4 weeks later. It was a massive event. Press coverage, board members flying in, a formal signing ceremony in Apex's largest conference room. As VP of Client Relations, I sat at the main table, my signature required on multiple documents. Marcus sat 3 seats down. His role purely operational. He signed where directed, said nothing, left as soon as possible. Afterward, there was a reception with expensive wine and catered food. Thornfield's CEO, a sharp woman named Isla Thornfield, sought me out specifically. Vincent tells me you personally ensured the Caldwell protections were maintained, she said. That kind of integrity is rare. I'm glad you'll be overseeing client relations for the merged company. We talked for 20 minutes about her vision for growth, about maintaining quality during expansion. She was impressive, grounded, ethical, focused on long-term success rather than quick profits. We should have lunch soon, Isla said before leaving. I'd like your input on some client strategy ideas. I floated through the rest of the reception. This was real. Belonged here. Across the room, I saw Marcus standing alone by the windows, drink in hand, staring out at the city. For a moment, I almost felt bad for him. Then I remembered that storage room up north, and the feeling passed. My first month as VP was intense. I restructured how we managed major accounts, implemented new communication protocols, and personally reached out to every significant client to introduce myself and hear their concerns. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Clients appreciated direct access to someone with actual authority. Several mentioned they'd felt neglected under the previous structure. I hired 2 junior account managers to help handle the workload, both young and hungry and grateful for the opportunity. Training them reminded me of my own early days at Apex, eager, nervous, determined to prove myself. Marcus and I developed a functional working relationship. We attended the same meetings, collaborated on operational matters, maintained professional courtesy. But we never discussed the satellite office, the reassignment, or anything personal. One afternoon, Vincent called me into his office. The board reviewed your first quarter performance. They're impressed. You've stabilized client relationships during a major transition. That's not easy. Thank you. I have a good team. Jordan, I want to tell you something. He paused, choosing words carefully. When Marcus reassigned you, I didn't know about it immediately. He has had authority over departmental assignments. By the time I learned, you'd already moved. I stayed quiet. I should have reversed it then. I didn't, and I regret that. I let politics cloud my judgment. An apology. Real one. I appreciate you saying that, I said. 6 months after the merger, I attended an industry conference in Chicago. It was a major event. Everyone who was anyone in consulting and logistics attended. My new title meant I was invited to executive dinners and private networking sessions I'd never accessed before. During a panel discussion on ethical client management, I shared the story of the Caldwell contracts, without naming companies or people. I talked about the importance of honoring commitments, even when it's inconvenient or costly. Afterward, at least a dozen people approached me with business cards and collaboration ideas. One woman, a VP at a competing firm, said, "That story about protecting client interests? That was clearly about the Apex Thornfield merger. Everyone in the industry heard about it. You made the right call." I hadn't realized the story had spread so widely. Apparently, Caldwell's CEO had mentioned it to peers, praising Apex's integrity. Word traveled. That evening, I sat in my hotel room, looking out at Chicago's skyline. 2 years ago, I'd been a mid-level account manager grinding through everyday work. 1 year ago, I'd been exiled to a depressing satellite office. Now I was a VP, speaking on industry panels, building a reputation that extended beyond one company. The path hadn't been easy or fair. But somehow, I'd ended up exactly where I was supposed to be. Back at the office, something unexpected happened. Marcus requested a meeting with me, just the 2 of us, no Vincent, no agenda listed. I agreed, curious despite myself. He arrived at my office. I had an actual office now with a door and everything, looking uncomfortable. He sat across from my desk, hands clasped. "I owe you an apology," he said abruptly. I blinked, genuinely surprised. The reassignment to the satellite office, it was petty. You were right in that board meeting about the renovation spending. I was embarrassed, and I took it out on you. He exhaled slowly. That was wrong. I'm sorry. For a long moment, I didn't know what to say. This was the last thing I'd expected. Thank you, I finally managed. That means something. I've been thinking a lot about leadership lately, Marcus continued. About the difference between authority and respect. I had authority to move you. But I lost your respect, and probably others too. He stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, you're good at this VP role. Better than I would be. After he left, I sat quietly, processing. People could change. Growth could happen. Maybe not always, but sometimes. A year after my promotion, Apex acquired another company. Smaller than Thornfield, but still significant. Vincent assigned me to lead the client integration, given my success with the previous merger. I approached it carefully, applying everything I'd learned. I met with every major client personally, listened to concerns, protected existing relationships while building new ones. The integration went smoothly. No last-minute contract disasters, no client defections, no panicked legal scrambles. During the closing celebration, Isla Thornfield pulled me aside. I've been watching how you handle these transitions. You have a gift for making people feel valued and heard. That's the job, I said. It's more than that. It's who you are. She smiled. Keep doing what you're doing. That night, driving home, I thought about the journey. About that awful day in Marcus's office when my world had seemed to shrink. About the satellite office with its buzzing lights and brick wall view. About discovering I had leverage when I'd felt powerless. All of it had led here. To meaningful work, genuine respect, and the knowledge that I could weather storms and come out stronger. The city lights blurred past my windows, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Contentment. 2 years after becoming VP, I was invited to speak at a women's leadership conference. The organizers had read about my career trajectory and wanted me to share my story. I almost declined. Public speaking still made me nervous. But B convinced me. Your story matters. People need to hear it. So I stood on that stage, looking out at hundreds of faces, and told the truth. I talked about being reassigned out of spite. About finding unexpected leverage. About standing firm on principles even when it was risky. The satellite office felt like the end, I said. It felt like punishment for speaking up. But it turned into a beginning, a chance to remember what I valued, what I wouldn't compromise on. The audience was silent, attentive. I'm not saying everything worked out perfectly or that there's justice in every situation. Sometimes there isn't. But I learned that doing the right thing, protecting clients, maintaining integrity, creates value that eventually gets recognized. Afterward, dozens of women approached me with their own stories of workplace struggles, unfair treatment, moments of doubt. Many thanked me for being honest about the difficulty, not just the triumph. One young woman, maybe 25, said, I'm in a situation like your satellite office right now. Your story gives me hope. It gets better, I told her. Not always fast, not always fair. But it can get better. 3 years into my VP role, Vincent announced his retirement. The board began searching for a new CEO, considering both internal and external candidates. To my shock, my name appeared on the internal candidate list. A board member reached out to gauge my interest. You've transformed client relations, led successful integrations, and built a reputation for integrity. Those are CEO qualities. I was flattered but uncertain. CEO meant different pressures, different sacrifices. I loved my current work, the direct client contact, the problem solving, the team building. After much thought, I declined. I'm honored to be considered, but I think my strengths are best used where I am now. The board understood. They ultimately hired Isla Thornfield as CEO. A choice I fully supported. She was brilliant, ethical, visionary. During her first week, Isla called me into her office. I'm glad you're staying in client relations. That role is crucial, and you're exceptional at it. Thank you. I'm glad you're leading us. She smiled. We make a good team. And we did. Under Isla's leadership and my client management, Apex continued growing, not just in size, but in reputation and employee satisfaction. Marcus eventually left for another company, a lateral move that seemed to suit him better. We exchanged professional goodbyes, no hard feelings remaining. 5 years after that day in Marcus's office, I attended Apex's annual leadership retreat. We gathered at a resort upstate, all the VPs and directors, to plan strategy and celebrate successes. During a break, I walked outside to a deck overlooking a lake. The autumn air was crisp, leaves turning gold and red. I thought about everything that had changed, everything I'd learned. B joined me, 2 glasses of wine in hand. Remember when you were packing boxes for the satellite office? You looked so defeated. I felt defeated, I admitted. Look at you now. B, industry speaker, mentor to half the young employees here. Smiled. Look at you too. Director of operations. You earned that. We clinked glasses, watching the sunset paint the lake in orange and pink. You know what the best part is, I said. You didn't have to become someone else. You just had to stand firm on being yourself, even when it was hard. She was right. I hadn't won by being ruthless or political. I'd won by doing good work, protecting what mattered, and refusing to compromise my values even when punished for them. The satellite office had felt like an ending. But really it had been a test, one I'd passed by staying true to who I was. As darkness settled over the lake, I felt grateful. Not for the struggle, but for discovering I was strong enough to handle it. And that was worth everything.